Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 22nd. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. It was day 20 in the house. We had a blindside in the nominations and the veto ceremony, and information is being spilled everywhere. Chaos ensued, and that was before the blind side. So after the blind side, more of it happened. Lots to talk about today, and with me to do it is Maggie. How you doing, Maggie?
Hi, Taran. Hi, everybody. I took some time off and I'm back, baby. And they do not rest. I'm like, Taran, you must be so tired because I watched everything yesterday. Literally, feeds on from the second I woke up to the second I went to bed, and my brain felt like mush. And I'm like, sometimes, I really do have to give you, Taran, so much credit because your ability to zoom out and really see big picture is sometimes so hard when you're watching these house guests in the weeds for hours at a time. Like, you can get turned around watching it. Like, I feel like sometimes I was watching yesterday and I was like, wait, what are they talking about again? I found myself getting dragged in and being like, yeah, that's something. And then I would be like, hold on. I am, in fact, in my apartment in Brooklyn, and there is more out here than than what's happening between these two people for hours on end. But oh my goodness, it's just been such a wild ride, and I'm so excited to go through everything from yesterday because it was a doozy.
Quite the doozy, and this is definitely going to have to be one of those very big picture days because
Yeah.
I mean, as much as listen, unfortunately, to give you the big picture, or maybe fortunately for you, I don't know what you like. There's going to be a lot of detail that we have to get through in order to provide the big picture. But I'm going to try to stick to big picture as much as possible because there's way too many funny little things that happened yesterday to get through all of them.
And also, I just want to say there's clearly an A plot, right? This Heisem blindside is an A plot. But then there's a B plot, and then there's a C plot, and then there's a D plot. Like, there's so many things that are threaded throughout the day that I was like, oh my gosh, this red drama that's going on through the day is so important to the big picture, but also so unimportant to the day, but also so it's just the amount of stuff that's been going on is wild, and it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Yes, that is exactly. I mean, most people in this day have some connection to the storyline, and have been impacted by the events of the day. And it's going to be tough to get through all 15 plots of or 14 plots of those things. But let's try.
There's a couple people, one in particular, who her only plot is she walks into a room and Sri says, oh God, let me put on my sunglasses. That's the plot of Bowie Jane.
But even Bowie was impacted by the day. I literally in my notes was like, should I include the part about them not trusting Bowie again? And I was like, I guess we could throwaway line it.
If you haven't been watching for the past 20 days, shocker, they don't trust Bowie because she comes into rooms, doesn't talk game, and just sits there and smiles. So that's the overview of Bowie, if you haven't been listening to Taran.
Well, let's talk it through. I'll pull up the graphic here. This is the graphic of the current state of the house as of the morning of day 20, with Jag and Cameron on the block. Jag has won the veto. Felicia, the HOH. The plan in place is to backdoor Heisem. However, of course, there was a whole thing about changing the plan that ended up not changing. In fact, Corey and Jared have a conversation about it in the morning, with Corey kind of being like, it's kind of wild what they were doing before about that whole plan flipping. Like that was pretty ridiculous, right? And Jared's like, well, the thing about females is, and Corey goes, Jared, every time you start a sentence with "for females," I'm incredibly scared.
Yeah, same. I mean, Core Horse Rise. I'm here. I'm here for it. Corey, King. And I was also this conversation that Corey has, he talks about some stuff that he's been doing in the house that, like, again, this is not big picture, but this is just like little things that I'm like, oh, it's so good. He's been saying that he like just hangs out in open spaces for hours at a time because he never wants anybody to not have track of where he is. And I mean, like the self-awareness to know that they in the first couple of days saw him as very sneaky. So the self-awareness to like subvert that as much as possible and be like, if you want Corey, he'll be upstairs by the bumper pool waiting for somebody to come by. Like, I just think that that is brilliant. Like really, really high level stuff.
It's good. It's also frustrating because people interrupt him all the time when he's having conversations with people. But that's a me thing. So if you didn't listen to yesterday's update, it was kind of a condensed, packed, full of information one. Definitely full of important context for the events of today. One of which is I talked about this like kind of proxy war that's occurring with Corey. That only Corey really knows that the proxy war exists. He's fighting against a power that doesn't really even recognize that he's a power. But he's trying to keep Red and Cameron around because he knows that he can use them to take shots at the Suri group eventually. The problem is that the Suri group is already looking at Red and Cameron pretty closely, and Red and Cameron are, I saw this somewhere, that Red and Cameron are like Dumb and Dumber. Because that's kind of how they behave in the game, a little bit. And they do not keep their mouths shut very, very well. And they have already spilled a lot to Matt, and Corey got in trouble for it a little bit with Matt, which is going to become important through the day. And just consistently, Red is getting a bigger and bigger target, despite the fact that he is just actually like a loyal soldier for the Alliance, at least for now. He just can't help himself but continue to get in more and more trouble. So
the issue though is that Red is a loyal soldier, and it makes no logical sense for him to be a loyal soldier. So people like Suri and Izzy, who are incredibly intelligent players, are like, it makes absolutely zero sense for him to be as obsessed with us as he is. Therefore, it must not be true. When in fact, it unfortunately just is true.
Yep, that's pretty much it. So Corey's goal, of course, is to advocate for Red and Cameron without actually advocating for them and getting dragged down by them, because they are already mentioning his name. And if he is too attached to them, then he might go down with that ship. So he needs to make a case for why they should stay, while also throwing them under the bus to the degree he needs to not be associated with them. And so what his plan is that he says, well, they are going to take shots eventually, but for now they are harmless. Whereas his real target, Jag, is the most dangerous person in the house. And in particular, he feels like he's going to start making the argument to Jared. He's going to refine it a little bit later when he talks to Izzy, that by taking Jag out, it kind of frees like America up, and opens the game up for him. And he doesn't want it to seem like a possessive jealousy thing, because that's not what's happening. And I'm like, why mention the words if that's not what's happening?
It's the Corey way. It's the Corey way, Taran. He says, okay, this is a thought that could maybe be in somebody's head like 20%. So I'm just going to get out ahead of it. And
Let
then
me make sure that the words are in their head and then deny it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's quite the thing, but what are you going to do? So that's happening there. And that's just a precursor. Before the veto ceremony, there's quite a stir that occurs. It's gonna start with Jag, who, if you recall from yesterday's update, he was told the night before by Blue, who was told by Jared, about the Middlemen Alliance, and this has shaken the foundation of how he sees the house. Jag continues to be a very interesting player because he thinks very well on a strategic level in the game. Like, he knows where the pieces need to be. He's also a very socially adept guy. He's very likable, but he has not been able to like merge those two aspects of his game and like use his social ability to activate his strategic mind and like just do good things. But what's interesting is that when he finds out new information, he's like, oh, this is actually bad. We should do something about it, as opposed to most people in the game that are just like, that's fine.
But the problem is, though, he doesn't have allies that are with him enough that they're like, yes, let's do something about it, and they know what to do. Like, his allies are Blue and Matt, who, like, we'll get to it at the very end of the day, but like the strategic prowess is not exactly their strong suit. Like, if Jag and Corey were closely aligned, they could flip the entire house on their head. But because Jag is sharing like all of his like minute details and thoughts about the game with somebody like Blue, who's going to immediately stand up in front of everybody, walk over and say, hey, Red, let's go talk over there. Like, the level of alliance members that are necessary, like the gameplay level of the people that you're working with, in order for something like, if you're playing on the bottom, in order to flip things around, you have to have people with you who know what they're doing.
Yep, I agree, and I think there's lots to talk about that, especially by the end of the night. But just as a precursor to that, I think that the key for Jag, if he wants to succeed in this game, is to separate a bit from Blue, because she has been compromised by the Jared situation. Lock in with Matt, and then team up with Corey and America. Give Corey what he wants in players that are willing to take shots at the power. And so that he's able to drop Red and Cameron, so that you're not so that nobody's protecting Red and Cameron. You get safety for the next couple of weeks via that. And then, you know, there's an actual path moving forward from there. And Corey has a lot of information that he can trickle to you if he needs that to happen. But anyway,
and I think make it clear to Corey that, like, you're not a fool and that you see what's going on the way that he does. And obviously, you know, that's a hard line to walk if you don't trust him. But like, you can blame it all on Heisem at the end of the day. You can blame all of the thoughts that you're going to regurgitate to Corey. If they go back to Suri and Izzy, like, you can blame all of that on Heisem. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but like, that for sure is the path forward for Jag.
Mm-hmm. So Jag, having found out about the middlemen, is worried, and he starts thinking things through and comes up with a novel idea, one that happened to have been thought of 2 days ago by one Suri as well. What if, instead of putting Heisem on the block as the replacement for me, we put up Red, and we send Red home because of this middleman alliance, because Red is a threat. And it's so funny because we constantly talk about how Jag is playing the game like from behind, like he's just steps behind, and he's literally 2 days behind, coming up with the same idea, having no idea that this has already been something that was run through many times. But he pitches this to Matt and to Jared, and Jared tries to talk it down a little bit, but also does the Jared thing where he's like, but yeah, let's have a conversation about it. Let's try and pitch it to you know, Suri and them and see what they think.
I'm sorry. Tony in the chat said Jag is Internet Explorer personified.
So right away, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. Because for as much as Jag is behind on this and they've already talked it through, we know Suri. If this idea comes up again, it's entirely possible that things start to spin out. So already things are a little weird. But then Heisem, in a conversation with Izzy, starts talking about plans for next week. He's talking about how Matt seems so calm. He doesn't suspect a thing. And they start talking about next week and what should we do? Who should we nominate? And Heisem suggests, well, what about Corey and Jared as nominees. And Izzy's like, already? And he's like, yeah, they're both smart competitors. Like, might be worth thinking about. And it's like, okay, even if something happens with this Jag stuff, this is going to be the thing that sinks Heisem's ship. He should have waited a couple of hours to mention this plan because this is no good.
Yeah, and what did he call him? Jared is the brain, or Corey is the brain, and Jared is the brawn, or
Well, that's what he
something.
claims that he was saying after the fact.
Well, I heard it so many times. I'm also being gaslit to think that he said it in that conversation. But I think, and I'm curious to know I think that Izzy and Suri and Felicia have made so many mistakes with this Heisem nomination. And I like in the way that they've handled it. You know, I mean, listen, brilliant feeds, very exciting for us. But like all of it, I just think has been so grossly mishandled. And I'm curious to know your thoughts on like the fact that Izzy, literally an hour before the nomination ceremony, is having full game talks with Heisem as though she doesn't know, in a way that only is going to come around 2 hours later for him to be like, that is so embarrassing for me, because it is objectively so embarrassing.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's happening. And already it's like, this is, man, Big Brother 25 can't even have an easy morning before the veto ceremony. And people are like, when are the feeds going to go down for the ceremony? Because this is getting a little out of hand. But don't worry, it hasn't even started yet. Because we have a couple more seeds to drop first. Blue has been worried. Blue and Jag both worried about this middleman thing, and the fact that Red and Cameron seem to be coming for them. That is how the week is being set up for next week, is that it's going to be Jag and Blue versus Red and Cameron. And they're finding that out. They both kind of know that these duos are coming after each other. And so that's why Jag is trying to get Red on the block. Blue takes a different tactic. She's going to go and talk to both Cam and Red separately and try to just clear the air a little bit about last week and the campaigns and so on and so forth, and just try to like cover herself a little bit with them to hopefully prevent them from targeting her next week if the situation arises. Jag even is going to talk to Bowie a little bit, but here's the thing: Suri and Felicia have watchful eyes, and they noticed that Blue was talking to Red and Cameron.
How would they not have noticed? She, in front of everybody, said, "Hey, Cameron, can we go talk over there?" Like, what? Yeah, of course they're gonna notice. Blue, come on.
Yes, very obviously talked to, and then the conversation with Red was right out in the open in the kitchen as well. And so they saw what she was doing, and Felicia was not pleased. And this is when the true chaos begins, because
Felicia, my love. Felicia, my love. Now I need everybody to listen to me. If you have ever heard me on one of these podcasts, you know that my favorite thing in the entire world are these house guests who just act out. I want to watch somebody on my television who I'm like, where did they find this person? Where on earth did they find this person? And to the person who found Felicia, I would like to kiss them on the mouth, just for all of the fandom, because Felicia goes up to Jared.
To Jag.
And go ahead. Or exactly. Sorry, to Jag. And go ahead, Taran. Give it to us.
It's perfect that you called him Jared, because that is what Felicia does constantly. She constantly confuses Jag and Jared. And to be fair, I am also almost like, I feel like I'm almost making that mistake all the time. It's the Ja.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And all I can think of is the moment. And my brain is only thinking of her and Jag in that chicken suit. Oh
yes.
My God.
Now, please remember that, yes, Jag is in a chicken costume. And Felicia comes up to him in the middle of the living room,
just in front of everybody. You thought Blue publicly. Go ahead, Taran.
You playing me? Is everything all right? Are you guys playing me right now? Jag is like, what's going on? What is this that is happening right now? You better blame me right now, because if you are, I swear to you. And he's like, here, let's go to the bedroom over here. Let's go to the scary room. She pulls him into the scary room. Jared is there. She's like, I don't even care that he's here right now. I will switch things up in a heartbeat if you are playing me. Why is Blue talking to Red and Cam?
You're not going slow enough. It was so slow and precise. I will switch things up in a heartbeat if you're playing me. Like, she was, I mean, you want to talk, her feet were planted. She was direct. She knew what she wanted to say. And at this point, I'm in my bed watching the feeds and I'm standing on my mattress. I am literally like, oh my God, like watching, because it was beyond, because it came out of completely nowhere. Like, not only was Jag shocked, we were all, there was absolutely zero build up to this. It was just, I mean, it was in a split second. Her feet were planted. She knew where she had to be. As Amon said, she was ready to deep fry Jag in that moment. It was absolutely perfect.
And Jag is just like stammering through, like, no, I'm loyal to the alliance. I would never lie to you. And she's like, you would never lie to me, like you lied last week about the vote. And he's like, what do you mean? And then unfortunately the feeds cut, because we're not allowed to have arguments on the feeds ever since personal game information happened. So by the time the feeds come back, Jag is kind of like debriefing with Jared, like, what was that about, dude? And Felicia is upstairs talking to Matt. And Matt, she's trying to explain to Matt what the issue was. And Matt is trying to explain to her, no, don't, like, Jag's fine. He's not like that. He's not turning on. We are loyal. The person you really need to be looking out for is Corey. And she says, what do you mean? Like, because it's Red and Cameron, and they have this alliance, and Corey is in it, and Corey's like the ringleader. I think he's so smart. And they have they're trying to bring America in, and they have Bowie because that's what they told him. And so in order, I want to just quickly flash back, if you don't remember from yesterday, that Corey had the conversation with Red and Cameron about what they would do once they hit jury, banding together, pulling in some numbers like America. And Corey warned them that they do not have Matt. They think they have Matt. They do not have Matt. And they were like, now we have Matt. And he was like, you do not have Matt. And they were like, but we do.
But we kind of do.
And so when Matt came in, Corey bolted out of the room, which I still think was a mistake. And they immediately pitched to Matt, hey, we've got Corey. We've got Bowie. We're going to pull in America. You should join our team. And in order to do so, you should put up your best allies, Jag and Blue, if you win HOH, to prove that you're not with them. And then everything will be great. Good? And Matt was like, sure. And so now he very much does not trust Corey. It's going around the house that Riley told him not to trust Corey before she left. Corey was also informed by Jared in that females conversation that Riley also told Matt, because Corey also tried to talk to Jared and convince Jared he didn't have Matt. In the morning of day 20, he was like, yeah, everyone seems to think they have Matt. They're so dumb. And Jared was like, oh yeah, they are, because I have Matt. And Corey was like, huh, that's a good one. He's like, no, I really have Matt. I'm the one that has Matt. And Corey's like, listen, Jared, I trust you, trust your judgment, but you're like the sixth person to tell me that. And Jared was like, perfect, because I'm the one that actually has him. And here's why. He was told by Riley to look out for Suri, to trust Suri, to whatever, protect Suri in the game. And so it's me and Suri. We have Matt. And Corey was like, sure.
Yeah, I mean, this just goes to show, one, you brought it up how like people feel like Matt is like a little lost lamb, that they, it goes to show the way that Matt is perceived in the house. And I also think it goes to show like Jared has had a really smooth ride. up to this point. His mom has done a lot of work for him. A lot of social work. A lot of people trusted him at the top. He's sitting in a really good spot, and he really feels that he's in a great position, and he couldn't fathom a world where he maybe is not in the best position or in the position that he thinks he is with everybody that like with Matt, and I think that like you want to talk about how Corey is so self-aware that he won't even allow himself to be out of sight, out of mind for more than 20 minutes at a time. Jared is like the opposite. He's like, no, I got this, guys. I got this. And I mean, obviously, the fact that he is almost revealing his secret to Blue goes to show that that is correct, that he really feels like, I got this in the bag. It doesn't matter. I can kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah. So Matt does not trust Corey, has been trying to warn Jag about Corey, but Jag hasn't really heard it yet. And so in this conversation with Felicia, he's trying to warn Felicia about Corey. And this time it sticks, at least for now. Felicia's like, what? Corey is involved in this? Corey is the snake? Corey's got to go. And for a brief moment, it's like, uh-oh, is Corey going to go up on the block? So now Felicia has been turned against Corey. She's like, I knew I couldn't trust Bowie either. Bowie's in that. And she literally just like an hour earlier was making a final three with Bowie.
It's the pace. I mean, somebody, or who was it? Hi tweeted this, and I was like, oh my gosh, this adds actually so much context. Like when somebody tweeted, like, in the past hour, they've talked about 7 different people to flip it to. And Hi was like, this is Survivor in a nutshell. Like everybody's an option at all times. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense to me. If Suri is used to this pace and the way that this goes, and she has all the power that she can talk about everybody, as an option, like, why wouldn't she? And yeah, it's just the revolving door of like the gaming, the pace of the gaming is just too much.
Yes. So in the meantime, Jag has gone into the have-not room with Suri, and she's doing damage control with Jag, he's explaining his position and he's trying to figure out what's going on. She's trying to calm him down and explain what Felicia might have been thinking. And so they're doing that over there.
I just want to say one thing about that. Like Jag keeps being like, we just made this alliance. Like we have to trust each other. Why would she I thought we were all good because we just made this alliance. And yes, exactly. Listen to your intuition, Jag. If she's that willing to publicly yell at you and like scold you basically in front of, not yell because she wasn't yelling, she was scolding him. Like if she's willing to publicly scold you after yesterday she made a alliance with you, that should show you that alliance is not real and not solid.
Yeah, literally, you had like Blue had 2 conversations, and that was enough to shake the foundation of this thing.
Yes.
So Suri is, as always, doing great damage control. Eventually, Felicia is going to come in with Izzy because they had a brief talk about this. And Felicia brought up to Izzy, she was like, and Corey's a snake, apparently. And Izzy was like, no, we have Corey. And she's like, no, what if we don't? And so then they go into the room and then they talk it through. And Felicia comes in and she's like, I've calmed down, Jag. Like, it's fine. He's like, oh, great, because I just didn't understand what you were saying. Like, I'm not lying to you. And she's like, Jag. And then they start to get into it again. And Suri has to step in and explain to Felicia better than Jag can, Jag's position, and calm everyone down again. And they're like, okay, we're all fine then. We're all good. And then Jag leaves and Felicia's like, okay, well, at least now we know we can't trust Bowie. Oh, and we can't trust Corey. And then Suri has to say, no, we have Corey. She vouches for Corey. We want Corey in that middleman alliance because he brings us all the information. Felicia's like, oh, okay. So they put out that fire. And it's like, okay, it seems like everything has calmed down now. Everything is fine. They head to the HOH room, Suri and Felicia. And that's when Red walks in. And Red has some information. He goes, oh, guys, I just talked to Blue earlier today in the kitchen. They're like, yeah, we know.
We have
He's
eyes.
like, so what happened is yesterday I was talking to Pooh and I told Jared that I didn't trust Blue. And I was wondering if he was going to run that back to Blue. And guess what? He did immediately. The son of a bitch. I can't believe it. He went right to Blue, and then Blue came to me this morning all worried about me not trusting her. So we can't trust Jared. He was always on the fringes anyway. Jared is no good, he says to Suri, his mother, an hour before the veto ceremony.
And this doesn't really go anywhere like the way that I would have assumed that it would have, an hour before the veto ceremony. But he will repeat this again and again to like everybody in the alliance who will listen. And I'm like, Red, please. Because also then, yeah, he just, when the thing is, Red has gotten so little information in the game. People have talked to him about game so little that when he has something of value that he thinks is a value to share, he's like, guys, I found something out. Now you don't have to keep me in the dark about everything that we're doing in the alliance. I am valuable.
Yeah. And he also talks about his conversation with Matt a little bit. So that's going on. And so all this is happening, and Felicia, Felicia goes downstairs. Hisam has been napping on the dining table this whole time. She wakes him up. You've been napping this whole time? It's like, oh yeah, just waiting for the ceremony,
Which also, the amount of cozy places there are in the Big Brother house, and he's sitting at the dining table with his head in his hands.
I mean, that's Hisam. He sleeps weird. It's a thing.
I love that that's like such a quirky character thing about Hisam. Like the sleeping position is, I feel like, just a beautiful addition to the wonderful casting that is Hisam.
Yes. Well, all this happens and the blind side hasn't even occurred yet. The feeds go down for a little while and then they turn to animals. So they were down for a bit before theoretically the ceremony happened, leaving the possibility that something might have happened with this red stuff. Talking so much about Jared. Izzy hasn't even had the chance yet to tell anybody about the fact that Hisam was saying he wanted to put Corey and Jared on the block. So who knows what could come of this situation. The veto ceremony does happen. And when we come back from the veto ceremony, Hisam has been put on the block. He has been backdoored. He has been blindsided. Hisam now up on the block against Cameron. One of them will go home on Thursday. The feeds came back a little late because, again, we're not allowed to see arguments on the feeds, particularly, I guess, when they're from Felicia, because apparently the main big one that we missed was Felicia kind of reading him the riot act about all of the things he did wrong, not taking any nonsense from Hisam. Hisam himself seemingly remained calm, although, calm being a word that might be defined differently by certain people. He gave some death stares, according to the house.
Intense.
And
I would say intense is a better word.
Intense is definitely how they felt. He started doing the guilt tripping, started doing the passive aggressiveness that I think we expected. And when we come back and the feeds are back, he is in the kitchen with Suri and Izzy. They're standing around the counter at different, the triangle, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is not a comment on how they look or their state of goodness. It's just a movie reference.
We got it. We got it, Taran. You're good.
And it's just incredibly awkward. Hisam is talking about I was loyal, right? And you'll see, right? When you watch it back, you'll watch it back and you'll see, you'll watch it back and you'll see that I was loyal, and you'll see, because when you watch it back, right, I'm gonna look like a complete idiot, right? Because I'm talking in the diary room about how loyal I am, right?
I have to say that you are adding a bit of a comedic spin on it because this is a entertaining podcast. But when I saw this whole interaction, I really was like, never can I ever play Big Brother. Oh my God, I would have been crying. It was so sad. I felt really bad for him. And the like, just because he was obviously incredibly hurt, not because it was just so awkward. And everybody was standing looking at him, and he was like, I'm really sorry if I really hurt you guys. That was never ever my intention. Like, I wanted us to go to the end together. And it was really like, we thought that it was going to come back and it was going to be fireworks, and it was the saddest fizzle of all time.
Yeah, well, the Suri and Izzy were doing the thing that you do when you're just like, I don't want this. Can you please just go away? I'm just not going to say a word to you. You can keep talking until you finally please go away. And he was saying things like, I
believe in our goodness.
I believe in our goodness. He was saying things like,
sometimes it comes a little bit too paternalistic. That's the word.
That's the word. Paternalistic. Not a bad word. Not a bad word. It's awkward. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. And it's become clear that a lot was explained to him, but the things that stand out the most, the things that were talked about the most, were some of the things that America said about Hisam, about wanting to work with the competitors, about feeling like he was that they were the leftovers, and stuff like that. And maybe and then also the thing from Corey about the brains and the brawn. You could be the brains, I could be the brawn. He says, that's not what I said. I said that Corey was the brains and Jared was the bronze. And they do not believe him about that. But he is focusing a lot on the America stuff. And so Corey and America are meanwhile up on the balcony in the backyard. She's giving him a spray tan. And Hisam comes out after doing the passive aggressiveness. And hilariously, as people have pointed out, as we predicted with the passive aggressiveness and not the blow up, he goes and he works out. And at one point, Corey looks over the balcony into the backyard and accidentally makes eye contact with Hisam, who is doing some dumbbell bench presses. And he's like, oh! I just made eye contact. Oh my God.
They're like ducking under the cover so that they're in the shade. And at one point, Matt comes up and is like, he's right below you. Like, he can hear you probably. Because they're like, I can't believe that he's so upset with us. Because Izzy had come up and warned them. Like, Izzy came up and was like, America, he wants to kill you. Straight up,
and America
said that.
America, talking to Corey, said, well, listen, I'm a screamer.
Whoa.
So if Hisam confronts me,
whoa,
I'm going to fight back. And Corey was like, yeah, definitely fight back. But like, America was like, I want it to be public. And he was like, maybe not. And so Hisam eventually is going to grab Corey. He's going to start his conversations that we can see, that we didn't miss. And the big first one is with Corey. Corey does a good job here of just explaining what he was told. He was told that Hisam had mentioned his name as a target a few times. He particularly mentions Jag and Blue as the offenders. He doesn't want to throw his own allies under the bus, of course. But at the same time is like, it's understandable that they might have done that because they were the ones in trouble that week. And so just walks the line pretty well, says to Hisam that he's not going to promise that he's going to vote for him this week, but he will promise that he will be open to hearing the truth if it comes out, how it comes out, making sure that there's like just a little bit of hope there, so that Hisam doesn't have a lot of incentive to throw Corey further under the bus if possible. Hisam mentions a lot that the way that Hisam says, I wasn't lying. Jag and Blue did bring up your name when I was HOH. They tried to use the living room incident against you and say that I should put you up because of that. But I wanted to give you a second chance. A lot of people were confused about this. What is the living room incident? We learn later, although we could have guessed, it was the Luke thing. We, of course, do not know what happened there, but we do know that Corey immediately started talking about having heard Luke say the N-word, and Hisam then said, what? I didn't hear that. And so apparently that became a bit of an incident, and people thought that Hisam might want to nominate Corey because of it. And Hisam was like, I'm going to give Corey a second chance and not nominate him. And that is kind of about as much as we know from it, of course.
Yeah, Corey was really, really good in this conversation. He kept reiterating to Hisam, like when Hisam would be like, you know that I wasn't going to target you, right? Corey was like, so I don't know that. But and then like moves on, and he was like, I've heard this and I've heard this, but I know you're an honest player. So you're an honest guy. I'm going to have to do some investigating, and I'm going to probably have to come to you and ask direct questions, but I know you're an honest guy. Like I know you are. And I just think that the way that he handles it, he's incredibly honest with Hisam about the way that he's feeling. He doesn't promise him his vote. He leaves it open-ended. He basically is like, you know, we have had, like, this has not always been hunky-dory between the two of us, but I am open to hearing what you have to say, which I think is the best thing that you can do so early in the week after somebody's been blindsided, especially in a flippy house like this. You don't want to plant your flag anywhere. You can leave it open to discussion. You know, I felt like Corey did a really great job of balancing everything in this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my best guess would be, and this is of course a complete guess in terms of the living room altercation, would be that maybe Corey didn't immediately believe that Hisam didn't hear the word, and maybe that's why they felt like there was a little bit of a back and forth, and that incident could be used to get Corey on the block. That would be my best guess, but of course we don't know much else about the situation. Hisam is going to also have his conversation with America, and he's going to confront America about some of the things she said about him. Particularly, he denies ever saying the word leftovers, that he did not say that. And she says, no, you did say that. And this is how the exchange went.
You used the word leftovers.
I did not.
You did.
No, I did not.
About 5 more times.
It's settled. It's settled.
No, I did not. So that's going to go back and forth for a little while. America says, you absolutely did. I remember you using the term leftovers because it reminded me of what happened last season. She says, you cannot gaslight me. He says,
I'm not trying to gaslight you.
Not trying to gaslight you.
I'm not trying to gaslight you. Right.
Right. This led, of course, again to everyone wondering, did he say the term leftovers? Did he say it? Of course, people went back and found the clip, and what was said was, we were literally left over, which is close enough.
Yeah, he said it.
Yeah. So although if he really wanted to be pedantic, he could say it's a different term, different word. Didn't include the S. Those are 2 words, not 1 word with an S.
I also think that the way that he was saying it to America, like contextually, was like Riley put us on opposite sides of the house and we all banded together because we were the ones left over and not picked by Riley. And I do think that the interpretation that he was like a little bit bummed, like, why didn't you want to work with me, is correct. But I don't think that Hisam, like contextually, I do think that they both think they're telling the truth here in this conversation.
Yes. And America even says that. She's like, it's possible that that he isn't lying and that he's just kind of delusional and believes that he didn't say these things. Although she does later very privately express to Corey, and she says, do not tell anybody I said this. But I'm starting to doubt. Did I hear it? Now I'm starting to wonder if I said leftovers. She'd been gaslit. It happened.
I'm not trying to gaslight you, right?
Right? Right?
Not really. That's not what I
Right?
think he genuinely did believe it. But anyway, she does a good job in this conversation, fights back appropriately, polite but firm, no screaming, and they end the conversation cordially. He is going to continue to deny saying it, but he's not really focusing all of his energy on America. He's still most hurt by Suri, Felicia, Izzy, his closest allies. And yeah.
Izzy, like, literally in her conversation, in some of the conversations, she's like, well, he's very hurt by me because in his mind, I was his final two. And I'm like, Izzy, what are you doing? What do you mean? This man who can win every single competition thinks of you as his final two? Like, just because you don't need him in your mind doesn't mean you can't use him in the game. But that's a conversation for you guys to have tonight on the round table. I'm really looking forward to hearing all of those thoughts. Like that is not for now, but oh gosh, this just feels like such a missed opportunity, especially for somebody like Izzy who's the third in a mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think goes without saying that this is this move was worse for Izzy than anyone else in the house. But like Izzy hasn't been playing self-interestedly for the whole game, so we don't focus on it a lot because it's not surprising. Hisam is going to continue having some conversations through the day. His pitch is mostly at first here, and will continue to be, and this is the biggest point in his pitch, is, listen, I was very loyal to my people. They turned on me. And now if I stay, whoever votes for me, they have my undying loyalty. I will win competitions for you. I will protect you to the best of my ability. And then once we eliminate everyone else in the house, I will bow out. I don't even care. And in fact, if I do get voted out, I don't even want to come back in a battle back. I just want to go home to my family and to the people that care about me.
Yeah, I'll just do whatever you say. These people that I not 2 weeks ago was saying adamantly that I hate, I'll do whatever you say, and then I will lay down and let you do whatever you want, even though we haven't really talked game once before this conversation.
Yeah. It's actually not like the worst pitch in the world, especially because like if he does join an existing group and then helps them for a while and then they ditch him, like it doesn't matter if he lays down and dies or not. But his position in the game is very tenuous, of course, and he doesn't yet know who to focus on. It's a very blanket pitch, but the pitch needs to come also with a reason why they need him, and giving that information away is dangerous because he doesn't, again, yet know what group of votes he needs. And if he gives the wrong information away, he might piss off the larger group of people that might have been, willing to accept his ideas. So that's all happening over there. Corey and Izzy have a conversation. He lets her know about Hisam saying, this is just another one of these Corey moments where he's like, yeah, Hisam is saying that if he gets voted out, he doesn't even want to come back in a battle back. He wants to go home to his family. And Izzy's like, but I thought he just said he didn't have a good relationship with his family. And Corey's like, whoa, I don't want to push that. And it's just, I bring it up because it's refreshing to have somebody in the game who like immediately like bounces back against the things that you hear on the feeds and you're like, oh, and to have Corey voice that is like, it's just very refreshing.
And it's the culture of the house. I always think that the culture of the house is 1000% determined by who the main strategy power source in the house is. And because you have Suri at the center of this house, Like there's not a lot of that going on anyways, you know, like there's not a lot of like really bad smack talk going on in that way. And then you have people also pushing back, like Corey, who isn't at the center of the house, but he's in a lot of important conversations with important people. And I think that when you are checked in the house by people who you respect in the game, that helps foster a better, more or less vindictive house culture, if that makes sense.
Yeah. More importantly in this conversation, Corey gives a good hard pitch for why Jag should be the next target. And this is not the main focus of the day, of course, but I do think it will be the main focus for the upcoming week, which is, if, again, this kind of quasi proxy war going on that nobody knows about but Corey, is that Red and Cameron are against Jag and Blue. Those are the two duos being faced off against each other. Matt really not involved because Red and Cameron think that they can get Matt, and everyone else also loves Matt, so they would want to protect Matt. They would rather see Jag or Blue leave. And since Jared will likely protect Blue, it's Jag that would be the person. And so with that in mind, Corey is trying to make sure that it's Jag that gets attacked before Red or Cameron, because he has a better relationship with them and they are more skeptical of Cirie, whereas Jag and Blue have completely fallen in with Cirie, which he knows. And Cirie actually lets him know even more about this new alliance, now called the Seven Deadly Sins, and how they're working Jag, Blue, and Matt and all of that. And Corey suggests that Jag would be the best target moving forward, particularly because if you take out Jag, and he says the same thing to Izzy about, it's not a possessive or jealousy thing, but it frees up America for me. But also it frees up Blue for Jared. Without Jag there, now Blue only has Jared and goes to Jared, and that's great for us. Great argument, especially to somebody like Izzy. And on top of that, you all love Matt. If you take out Jag, it also definitely frees Matt up from Jag. And now Matt has nowhere to go because Matt doesn't have a relationship with Blue. And so just like Riley was the glue to that group, Jag is now the glue that holds Matt and Blue together. And so if you take out Jag, America's freed up, Blue is freed up, Matt is freed up, and we are in the position to take all of those pieces separately. It's a very compelling argument. But the problem is, and Cirie and Izzy counters with this, Red is just such a problem. It's now getting around. She's let Jared know. She's letting Corey know that Red is now talking about Jared. He doesn't trust Jared because of this whole Blue thing. He's trying to pull together this like group of people. He was talking to Matt. He's got Bowie. And they've got Mimi in the alliance. And now we're going to do the brief Mimi aside here. Matt, when he talked about this side alliance, did not include Mimi's name because they didn't include Mimi's name when they talked to Matt. And Felicia was like, Mimi's not in it? He's like, oh. And then when she talked to Izzy, she was like, I guess Mimi's not in it. And Izzy was like, is Mimi telling the truth? And she really just doesn't have anything going on? And they were like, And then when they later talked to Cirie, they were like, and then they claimed that Mimi's not in it and that maybe just Mimi's not in it. And then they were like, no, she's got to be in it. There's no way. She's definitely in it. She's definitely in it. So Mimi is back in the group. But Corey yesterday did a little bit of this. And then again, here on day 20 does a little bit of this. He says, I know you guys don't feel good about Mimi, but I really don't think she's involved in any of that stuff. I don't know why. Like, I thought you guys liked Mimi. It's confusing to me that you're so suspicious of her. And Izzy tries to give him the whole pitch about why Mimi's not trustworthy. She's always hanging out with those other people. She's not worth trusting or giving information to. Corey fights back a little bit. Corey really the only person in the game that fights for Mimi at all. Of course, she still has no interest in working with him. He really shouldn't be at this point, but he is trying. And so that's the conversation kind of ends here. It doesn't really go anywhere in particular. It doesn't land anywhere. But I bring it up because, again, I think that this is going to continue to be a conversation as the week progresses, as we go into next week, especially because the HOH is the pressure cooker, and it will largely, I would assume, depend on who wants to win and who people want to win. And so giving the HOH to a certain person, knowing what they might do, knowing who they might target, is going to be important for not only who wins, but also who gets targeted. And it's important for Corey that Jag gets taken out to free up all those people to help break up this 7 Deadly Sins alliance, which is the biggest threat to his own power because he's not involved in it, and keep Red and Cameron in the game so that he can use them to take shots at Cirie later.
Okay, but do you think that this is actually the right move for Corey, knowing Jag's potential and what he could do to help him break up the actual big power in the house?
I think if he is able to, so what we're going to talk about this, Corey recognizes now, I think, that he needs to talk to Matt a little more. He has not. I think this is one of the biggest faults Corey has had in this week, is that he has not focused enough on Matt, and that has become a huge liability. He finally does have a conversation with Matt, not about strategy, just talking life stuff. They were talking about girls and dating, which is one of Matt's favorite topics. And so Matt does later in the night say that he had a good conversation with Corey. Still doesn't trust him, but he had a good conversation with him. If he can work on Matt, that's a good start. The Jag situation is interesting. I think that from Corey's perspective, he can't go to Jag. Jag has to come to him. It's way too, knowing that Jag is in an alliance with those people and trusts them way more than he should. He can't be the one to approach Jag. And so, I think taking him out works better for him in this current trajectory. But I think a more ideal path would be if Jag were willing to come to Corey, or if Corey was able to drag the information out of Jag somehow. But he has to be very careful about that.
And the problem is, though, because he sees Red and Cameron as people that he can pull away from Cirie and and it sounds as though he can. Some of the conversations that Red and Cameron are having, they have clocked that Cirie is the power source of the house and that everybody wants to work with her. But I don't trust their game ability. You know what I mean? And I'm a core whore. So I'm I want Corey to succeed. And Jag is a much better ally for him at the end of the day than Cameron and Red, who are sort of sometimes they say things that you're yeah. And then sometimes you're what are they even talking about? And they're I'm great. It's great that they are going to backdoor heist him and didn't tell me, and I was a complete afterthought. You know what I mean? So I just am curious. I do think you're right that Jag is too dangerous for him to go to. And it just comes down to is Jag going to be self-interested enough to see where he should be going?
I think the other thing, if I'm trying to take Corey's perspective here, would be that if he tries and fails with Red and Cameron and they flop and they leave, he's still okay. There's still a path for him where, as long as he's still closer to Cirie and Izzy and Jared, now Cirie, Izzy, Jared, and Felicia, now they're turning on Jag, Blue, and Matt, and he can try to ride that middle too and ride that down and just hope that the natural war that occurs between those people will eventually lead to him being in a better spot. Whereas if he gets caught trying to make a premature move with Jag, that could blow up everything and just completely crash the entire system. So it's definitely an interesting spot, especially knowing what we know about Cirie and Jared. So we will see. So the feeds go down for a little while. They get a little pizza party. And when they come back, Hisam is continuing his apology tour / campaign. He talks to Izzy for a while. Just a lot of, help me understand where I went wrong, apologizing for the things that he was doing. And to his credit, Hisam can be very paternalistic. Yeah, that's the word. Usually when you're telling somebody you're not gaslighting them, which is a weird thing to be saying in the first place, you don't want to follow it up with,
I'm not trying to gaslight you, right?
Right? So yeah, he's a bit of a flawed character in that way. But he's pretty quick to recognize it and admit to those faults for the most part. He still does, unfortunately, have this thing where it's like he still wants to stay up on that high road as much as possible.
Uh-huh.
But he is definitely willing to like dive in and be like, I realize what I did was wrong now. He says he made people feel small. He apologizes for that. He made people feel too tied to their identity when he put those people into boxes like that, and he apologizes for that as well. But he was loyal. He really was, and
Mhm.
that he hopes that they understand that, or at least come to realize that eventually. And so that is kind of what he's giving to Izzy and Suri separately.
Yeah, and I don't know what the right path for him is. I think that for him to get his votes, I think that I'm interested to see what you guys have to say tonight on the roundtable, because I haven't thought it through quite enough. I don't know what he can say to get Izzy and Suri to change their mind. I, I, I think that unfortunately it's just going to have to be like a Red and Cameron total mess up in order for them to change their mind on Heisem. But like you said earlier, the pitch is honestly like true, and it's not bad. He just doesn't know where to aim it yet, and he hasn't refined it.
Mm-hmm. He does, make Suri feel bad
Mm-hmm.
after her conversation with Heisem. At first, she's like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever with this guy. But then later, she is gonna like tear up a little bit in front of Izzy. Some people are even in the chat right now saying it was fake crying. Some people feel like she just actually felt bad. Whatever it is, I would assume personally that it was a bit more genuine than not, mostly because at first she wasn't. At first, it seemed like
Mm-hmm.
she was going on the defense to
Yeah.
avoid the feelings, and then afterward was like, now I do actually kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
But
And
we know that Suri is not going to go by feeling bad. That
uh,
for as fickle as she can be strategically, she is always working strategically. She is not going to be like, I feel bad, therefore I need to change up my plans.
yeah, and also I saw the chat when I was saying earlier that I felt bad for Heisem, and they were like, he's so I'm sorry for having a human moment. He was very upset, and it was sad to see. And I think that that's how Suri felt too. Like, the thing is, people who are somebody like Suri, who is so good socially, who is so good at making people feel at ease, it's because she's really great at reading energy, and that she can match energy. She calms people down. She has a very calming, soothing energy because she can see what people need when they come to her. And of course, this person who is upset feels betrayed and is like, I genuinely was loyal, and he means it, is going to make her feel sad for him. Like, she's a really lovely, warm person. So, of course, she's going to feel that way. She can also be a shark of a game player, but yeah, she's going to be sad the way that I was sad watching it. Okay. Sorry that we as Big Brother watchers felt sad that somebody was sad. All right.
Yeah, feelings are okay. Feelings are fine. I think that's part of what makes Big Brother so fun is that they can evoke those feelings in you. Like when
Yes.
Heisem is HOH, you're like, this guy. And then when he's walking around unbeknownst to him as the consensus house target, and he's like, you know, hosting a game show the night before and having a grand old time, you're like, oh,
Yes.
oh, he doesn't know what's coming. But then also, like, he can then be really annoying in a conversation later, and you're like, okay, that's making me not feel as no, but I still feel really bad.
Yes. And that is real life, right? Like, Big Brother is a microcosm of real life, and you can feel really strongly about somebody that you don't want them around you, but if you see them in pain, you're going to feel bad because that's a person in pain. That you get to have all of this gigantic range of emotion. That's why the show does well, because you're watching every single person in there be that at their highest highs and their lowest lows.
And you're also fully aware that, like, for as much as you feel bad for Hisam, if he did stay and then won HOH, you'd be just as annoyed with him again.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So Hisam continues the campaign. The pitch continuing to be, whoever saves me will have my undying loyalty. He talks to America again and tells her it's now time to start dropping some information. And he tells America that there was an alliance, a 7-person alliance that was working together, and that the reason why America's side was targeted was because Cameron flipped. Cameron told them everything. Now, it's important to note that we know that Jared flipped first. That Jared was never even on the other side enough to flip in the first place. Jared leaked everything, but Cirie was careful enough that when she told Hisam about hearing about the other side, she did not say it came from Jared. Remember, her literal line was, "A little birdie told me." And never exposed that Jared was the one. She always said that Jared was probably with them, that Jared would work with them, and he knows that Jared was working with them, but it wasn't until Cameron later came and exposed everything that they knew, that somebody like Hisam knew the specifics about the other side. And so from Hisam's perspective, Cameron is the one that flipped. Jared just always had good relationships with them, and they felt like they could pull Jared. Which is one of the reasons why he feels comfortable targeting Jared, or felt comfortable targeting Jared just before this ceremony. It's also worth noting that from Hisam's perspective, one of the reasons why he's looking at targeting Jared, one of the reasons why Cirie was so annoyed with Hisam, is because he is concerned about the Jared Blue relationship. He makes a lot of comments about it. The Hisam is stupid clip was because she was annoyed at Hisam calling out Jared and Blue, and she was jokingly saying to Hisam, "Hisam, you're so stupid for saying that. Ha ha ha. Hisam is stupid." Jared, you got to clean that up. And so that's Hisam's perspective. That's why he's saying Cameron is the one that flipped. Cameron is the messy one. And on top of that, Cameron's the one sitting on the block next to him.
I was about to say, and wow, how amazing that Cameron's sitting right next to him. And the reason that your entire game got blown up and Riley got sent home is because of this guy next to me. This guy can't be trusted. I am honest and loyal. And now that my people have betrayed me, I'll tell you everything I know.
And this works with America. America's like, oh my God, there's an alliance on the other side. Cameron is the one that flipped on us. We need to keep Hisam, right? Like, she goes to Blue. And this is the concrete information that she feels she needs to convince Blue of what she had been trying to say earlier. Because remember, just the day before, she was trying to warn Blue, you can't trust Cirie and Izzy. And Blue was like, sure, that's fine. So America's now like, I have the information I need to finally convince Blue. She says, Blue, Hisam just told me that the other side already has an alliance, that they have been working against us this whole time, and that Cameron is the one that flipped on us. We need to re-solidify the remainder of our crew and go against them. We have been slacking. We are not in a good position. And Blue is like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And she's like, dude, I mean, do we need to keep Hisam? Like, what are we doing? And Blue just not hearing it at all, because of course Blue still is like, you don't know that I'm in an alliance with
my gosh,
Cirie and Izzy. So jokes
on
you.
Blue also like can't hold on to information for more than an hour and a half. Like she's one of those types of players where like she's got to move with it. Like it's gonna come out in a second, and like you can't tell her anything that you don't want half the house to know.
Yes. Quick aside, the ants have gotten very bad all the way into the bathroom. And on top of that, in the middle of this conversation, America's like, oh, it's a cockroach. And so that's gross.
Well, there was a big storm So that
Fair.
would make sense that the bugs are inside.
Yeah. It's not great, though. So Blue runs to Felicia, and she says, guess what America just told me? She told me that Heisem told her that there was an alliance, and Felicia's like, oh, yeah, they were called the Professors. Yeah, we had an alliance. It was the Professors. Blue's like, oh, and that was who? And she's like, oh, it's me, Suri, Izzy, Red, Mimi, Heisem, and Bowie. But, you know, then we took out Heisem. So it was all Heisem's idea, the whole thing. He came in and he was like, oh, now Cameron is a part of it. And we were like, what? And then he did all these things, and that's why we turned on Heisem. It's Felicia actually does a very good job here. The bluntness of Felicia continues to work really well. The casual nature with which she's just like, oh yeah, that thing, not a big deal. Heisem's fault. And Blue is like, yeah, I thought so. You know, I was just sitting there the whole time as America was saying this. I'm like, you're so stupid, because like the reality is that I have a 7-person alliance and you don't.
Yeah.
Then they talk about how sketchy America is and so on and so forth.
Yeah, America has become public enemy number 1 in the house. Like, which, I mean, Jax has it. We'll get there. The last combo of the night. But
yeah. Also worth noting, Jared did talk to Blue a bit about the red stuff and how the red stuff got back to him, and like you know, she kind of messed up. So that's kind of like let's clean that up a little bit.
Well, also though, she's like, oh, because when Suri and Izzy and them told him about it, he was like, that information did not come from me. Like, I don't even know what he's talking about. And then he goes to Blue and is like, you didn't say anything about the information I told you, right? And she was like, no, it had nothing to do with what you told me. It had to do with what Jag told me that was on top of what you told me. And he was like, okay, cool. So I wasn't involved at all, right? I wasn't involved. And she was like, nope. But also, we skimmed over this in the morning because there was just so much to get to. And I do feel like it is important that Blue and America debriefed what happened the night before, where Jared told Blue that he was falling for her.
Yep. Blue actually told multiple people.
Yeah. So she tells America, Jared said he's falling for me. And they're like, dancing. And she's like, you know, but we both have a similar situation. Like, I was really talking to my ex. He has somebody, like, it's a similar situation and we don't want to hurt anybody, but blah, blah, blah. Also, I feel like I'm changing him. Like, even in the couple of days that I've known him, like, you know, he says that he's like changed his perspective on a lot of things. And America's like, oh my gosh. And then, yeah, they just like giggle about it and go on their way. But I wanted to point out that America told Corey that this all happened last night, which means we're close to Suri Fields finding out about what her son is doing in the house, which I personally cannot wait for.
Yeah, the big line from that conversation, of course, is the just, man, you never want to get caught saying this one. I can fix him.
And they're half joking, right? They're like, oh my God, we're fixing him, like half joking, but half joking.
They're half joking because they know it's a line they shouldn't say, but it's one that Blue genuinely believes.
Yeah. But that's just, I was like giggling. I mean, it's always fun to see just like girl talk, and like they're in the bathroom and they're like, you know, holding each other's hands and like giggling and jumping around, because that sort of stuff is always very fun to see. But I just can't wait. Like, all of it's so messy. Like, Suri told her son very first day in the house to clean it up, and he has done nothing but continue to keep his life a pigsty. So I can't wait for all of this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, really Corey is going to talk to America later in the night. They debrief about a lot of stuff. And Corey tries to give her another kind of rundown on where he thinks things are. In fact, America tells Corey about like this alliance that Heisem told her about. And his immediate response is like, I don't think that alliance is particularly real, at least anymore. He says that he thinks it formed in response to the Riley thing, but that group of people, think about it, they don't trust each other. And he tries to reassure her that they are in a better spot with those people than Cam and Red, who are supposed to be in that alliance. And she's like, are you sure? And he's like, I've got a pretty good idea. He hints that he thinks Matt, Jag, and Blue have something with them potentially. He knows they do. He's hinting that they might have something, but that it's also probably BS, which he also knows. Trying to, it's very dangerous for him to give away this information, especially somebody like America, because she talks a little too much and doesn't really know the full. And I think that, like, if America truly knew the full lay of the land, she is smart enough to not say the wrong things, but it's tough to make the jump from the hints that he's giving her to everything without fully knowing that she won't say the wrong thing or be thrown off by it.
I personally think that he should, and maybe that's what it is. America is the ally that he needs. The problem is she doesn't have the social capital to help him do what he needs to do. But, the way that he was the first couple of days downloading everything with Mimi and like really sharing his game with her, that's perhaps what he should be doing with America now, and just give her everything, because I do think that she is, and maybe he does need to wait a little bit more. Maybe she needs a scare where she's in danger and he really helps her out to like really solidify that she is with him fully and that he is her closest ally. But I do think that she would be a good person for him to bounce ideas off of, because she is smart. She watches the show. She watches the feeds.
It's tough because, like, even if you do trust her to not spill the information because she's smart enough to not talk to the wrong people, her position in the game is still so poor that, like, she could get put in a compromising position soon and then be forced to use that information as leverage to get herself out of it, because she's also smart enough to do that. So it's definitely a tricky spot. And America says to him, she's realizing, like, she's like, when I try to tell Blue things, she is not giving anything back. Like, it's frustrating. So she's aware of the fact that Blue is not reciprocating. Hopefully that means she'll stop trying, because I think Blue is a lost cause right now for her. But they talk some more. They talk about their fandom. They bond over that a bit. He brings up the live feed updates. She does not watch them. She's a Twitter update person. And shouts out the BB update account. And they talk about how various spoiler accounts are always wrong about everything. It's a funny conversation. Worth noting as well, Jared asked Corey in the morning about, like, what's really going on with you in America, and almost word for word what Zach told us in our interview with Zach. Corey was like, listen, I'm not here to date a 27-year-old as a 21-year-old. I'm like in college still. Like that's not happening. And then also, like, no offense to you at all, but like, I'm not here to do stuff on camera.
Yeah. And
not my thing.
And
Jared is, this is when Jared's talking about females again. He's like, listen, what about, because he's like, what about getting interactive? And that's when he's like, Jared is like, well, I think she wants to. And Corey's like, you want to know what I really think? She's a very flirty person. That's who she is. It's great. But I don't think she has any like genuine interest beyond just having fun. And Jared's like, I don't know, I think she would get interactive. And Corey's like, and that's Corey said, I know you're gonna make fun of me for this, but like, I'm not really that kind of guy. And Jared's like, I knew that. I was just checking.
Core horse rise. That's all I gotta say. But I think that his read is right. Like I do think that him and America are great friends and they get along really well and they have fun together, and that's why they would be good allies. But like I think that that's absolutely Corey's right to say, hey, I don't want to do anything on camera. I think that's his right. As it is your right to, or as it is anybody else's right to say that they don't mind doing that, And
it's just like another, just like, thing where it's like I appreciate Corey in this moment. I mean, he mentioned toxic masculinity in his pregame interview. It's nice to it's nice that Corey, especially as a 21-year-old, in a game like this where social pressure is even more extreme, to be able to very comfortably like interact with this kind of like, come on, bro, thing, and just comfortably be like, nah, it's not for me.
Yep.
It's just nice to see. Not something you usually see in real life, let alone on Big Brother. So they that's kind of like what's going on there. But this conversation, they did seem to bond some more in the game, and he was giving her more information. I think he is going to really try. He was trying with Izzy earlier in the day to be like, I'm telling you, I know America is sketchy, but I really do think that we can make something work there. She's not like dangerous in the game. He is trying to somehow get this to work, and I think he will continue to try.
And I hope he does.
There you go. All right, final thing we have to talk about. Another big event of the night is that Matt and Jag are talking. And at first they're talking about Izzy. Do they really trust Izzy? So on and so forth. They're not really sure that they can trust Izzy. Hisam joins them and gives a long pitch to them. And in this pitch, he's now gone from just blanket statement, I will work with whoever votes for me, to, in addition, telling people about the alliance that was formed, the 7-person alliance, and how Cam is the one that flipped and told everything about their side. And then in this conversation, they ask some more questions, and he lets them know it was called the Professors, and that Cam told them everything. Cam is the reason that Riley left, and Jag asks about the Jared situation. What was going on? Why did Jared save me? And Hisam says, oh, well, the plan was to take out Riley, and Jared knew that. Jared was in on the plan. That's why he saved you. And Jag is like, oh, I knew it. And we go back to this. I talked about this at the time. Jared had such an easy out. All he needed to do was say, I talked to Hisam. He said, Riley is the target. And if you use the power to save her, you will be my target, and I will put you on the block. And that's why. But instead, he decided to lie for no reason and say that he was tricked into thinking that Riley wasn't the target. I got played. Sorry. And it was so sketchy. And now this is the piece of information. This is the tax evasion that is going to bring Jared down in Jag's eyes.
The tax evasion. That's really funny, Taran. I like that.
So now, again, from Hisam's perspective, he does say, for what it's worth, I think Jared has caught feelings for Blue, and because of that, may turn to your side more than the other side. But Jag now knows that Jared has been a rat in the past and has been playing both sides. So after Hisam leaves, Jag is like, this is concerning information. I'd been suspicious of that Jared, and now we know that he was not to be trusted. He's also like, the thing that really concerns me as well is that Hisam is saying that he was in deep with Suri, Izzy, and Felicia. He was so loyal to them. I mean, he tried to make an alliance with us and then immediately told them about it. That's why he told them, because he was so loyal to them, and they just turned on him and cut him with ease. They just, with no warning whatsoever, just completely blindsided. If they can do that to him, surely they could do that to us. That's concerning.
Yeah, exactly. And then Matt goes, yeah, but I trust Suri the most.
Yeah, Matt says that, well, here's the thing. They turned on him to work with us. They chose us. And Jag's like, yeah. And so Matt a little bit skeptical. Now, I was feeling, I think Matt's social game is very good. Obviously, a lot of people think they have him. A lot of people really like him. He's still not a target for anyone. Strategically, I was feeling a little better about him over the last few days based on how he responded to the Red and Cam conversation, the information that he's passed on, his skepticism of Corey, which is warranted. This to me was like, oh, maybe it's just a Corey thing. Maybe that's where that skepticism came from. And you do not have a natural skepticism. It's just that you were, Riley told you to be suspicious of Corey. You caught on to Corey, but you are definitely not catching on to the the fact that you should not trust these people. Now, to be fair, they have put a lot more work into Matt than they have into Jag, because they actually do like Matt and would like to bring Matt further than Jag. So there's
And-
some reason for Matt to feel better about it.
But Jag now, with this information, is able to clearly see where the power source in the house is.
Yes.
Like, very obviously, he says, oh my gosh, Suri, Felicia, and Izzy have they're aligned with every single person. The only person that they aren't aligned with in this house is America. And guess who they've been pushing all week? America. No wonder they've been pushing her. And I was like, yes, Jag, yes. So what are you going to do about it?
Yes, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Jag, when he finds out the information, is able to clearly see the strategic ramifications of everything. Like he has a mind for the game. We've known this from the very start. It's just he hasn't been able to apply it properly. And so when he hears about this information, he recognizes, okay, so Suri, Izzy, and Felicia are at the core of everything. They've got the professors over here. They've got the 7 deadly sins over here. They feel good about Corey. They're always saying that they trust Corey, that they feel like they've got Corey. And that means that, the only people they don't have, the only person they don't have is America. And lo and behold, America is sketchy. America's, somebody that we should be looking at. So what do we do about this? Should we try to start making more alliances? Should we make more connections? Well, the problem with that is that how can we trust anyone else? If we go to anyone else, they're going to run it back to them, and then we're going to be on the outs. They're starting to realize the position that Corey has been in for a long time. They don't recognize that Corey's in that position, but the dilemma that Corey has in approaching Jag is the one that Jag is now starting to realize he is also in. If Suri holds all of the power, how can I make any kind of move against Suri without her finding out? And the answer is you can't really, because she does immediately find out.
You can't. And like, if I'm in Jag's position, if I find out all of this stuff and I'm voicing it, my heart goes into my stomach, because one, I'm stuck, and the only way to get unstuck from this position is to win power and to put up Suri and Izzy. Like, that's the only way that you can really reach, because the house right now, the shape is so locked into this onion with Suri, Izzy, and Jared at the center, with all of these different, like you've been saying, it's 4 different onion alliances. Like, there's nothing you can do except blow it all up. And I don't know, though, if that's something that Jag would even be willing to do if he won HOH. I don't think it is. I don't think that he would have the bravery, because that is scary, because every single thing leads back to Suri to do what he had to do and put her up. And I don't want that. Listen, Suri Fields is one of my favorite reality TV contestants of all time, but I'm loving watching her have to figure out what to do. And I'm not sure that Jag would do what I personally think would need to be done. What do you think that Jag would need to do in this situation, Taran?
Well, I mean, again, I think that he has the same problem that Corey does, in that if he approaches Corey currently wants to target Jag, and Corey would probably rather just use the information against Jag to get him targeted, to make sure that Red and Cam stay over him right now, than take the risk that he can trust Jag and go along with him on that dangerous path. So what he really needs to do is start working on the relationship with Corey more, something that he hasn't really ever focused on, because he's always taken Corey for granted. And so if he focuses on that, which is one of the conclusions of their conversation, we need to make sure we're good with Corey and America, then after developing that relationship, they can maybe start to make something work there. And that could be very good for him. And by getting Corey on board, he's taking out the most dangerous player to his own personal safety within the next couple of weeks. Because with Corey protecting Jag, Corey would potentially be able to get Red and Cam to also not target Jag. That he could get them to go after somebody like Bowie. Well, Bowie, maybe not Bowie, but he could get them to go after somebody else, somebody not Jag. Because that's where I think that like Suri and them would want Bowie gone, and with Suri's support, they could maybe get Bowie to be targeted by them, or maybe even Mimi, which would, unfortunately be a good drop for for Corey at this point. But either way, getting Corey on board would be huge. Obviously, being not being targeted by Red and Cam anymore would be huge. But it's going to take work. He's going to start to need to put work in quickly over the next few days.
Yeah, I'm so interested to see, because I mean the entire house is a landmine for him to try to figure out how to navigate, and he does recognize that. You know, he's like, oh my god, all roads lead back to Suri. So I'm so interested to see what he does with it. And I think, yeah, maybe, I guess if I'm him, I'm like, okay, I'm biding my time the next couple of weeks, trying to figure out how to recalibrate, and then the second I win power, I just have to go for it, and it's going to be terrible, but I have to go for it, you know.
Yes. But here's the thing. When they say, and you mentioned this a little bit, when they say, Jag asks Matt, okay, well, of the three that are in power, Izzy, Suri, Felicia, who do you trust the most? And Matt says, Suri. And Jag agrees. And they think that Suri is the one they should go talk to about this and ask her some questions. They say, hey, Felicia was blunt with us. We should be blunt with her and just ask her about all of this. And we know what the end result of Suri talking to them is going to be. She's going to completely miss them again. And this is the power of Suri, right? Like, despite all of the other messy stuff going on, she has this ability to suck people in. And by the end of this conversation, Jack says, I do feel good about R7. We just need to also make sure we're good with Corey in America now. And that's when Matt said he did have a good conversation with Corey earlier today. So maybe this Corey and Matt connection can start to blossom. And we might see, you know, what happens if Jag and Matt actually focus on creating a relationship with Corey in America, if that might change what's happening with next week in the upcoming like proxy war.
Yeah, I think that watching what is really interesting about this season overall, I mean, this season has been unbelievable. I love every single thing that it has given us. I think that the cast is incredible. The gameplay is like another level. But the thing that is so fascinating about the season is there's a lot of information that's come out in the open. There's not a ton of secrecy that's going on here. And even like now Jag sees the full layout of the house. So it's like, how do these people navigate? They can see strategic positioning, but like you were saying, there is a god tier level social player in the house that has a mist that rivals Dan's to the max, you know? And so even though everybody can see, not everybody, even though the players who are like very game adept can see the layout of the house, they still have to navigate their feelings and their social relationships, which I think sometimes it's very easy when you're watching BB to look at these alliance charts that these people work so hard online to show us and be like, okay, well, this is where you need to move and this is where you need to move. But you forget that, oh, but this person would need to move here, but they love her, so they can't. So they would never. And I think that it's so that this season overall is showing how social relationships and social capital can be leveraged in a way where it doesn't matter where you are strategically. The social leverage is so strong that there is less movement that can be had.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing about Suri. I was talking about this on the stream yesterday, which, by the way, I was streaming for like 4 hours yesterday, if you want to explore some of that madness. That like, I think part of the thing about Suri that a lot of people are having trouble like fitting in to the usual view of like what makes a good player is that there are different ways to be a good player. Yes. Not everyone needs to follow the same formula. You know, yeah, you can look at the charts and you can say that like, if this were a chessboard, if you move this piece here, that gives you the best advantage here. But the problem is that Suri has the ability to talk the chess pieces into changing what chess piece they are.
Yes.
And so when even though she is putting pieces all over the board and it's like not necessarily the right best chess move, she's able to still make it work because she's changing the very nature of what the structure is.
Like, these people are knights. They can only move in L shapes, but she's convinced them that they're a queen and they can move wherever they want. You know, like, it's really so fascinating because, you know, like you said, she has 4 onion alliances. So she does have, you know, this how you win Big Brother nowadays is to be the center of an onion alliance. So she does have that. But like I said, everything's sort of out in the open. So she has to work like in a completely different way, which is the way that she works. And so this is not, like you said, she's a very creative player. And that's why this season is so different from what we usually see, because the person who's at the center of the strategic ability is so creative, or at the strategic like heartbeat of the season.
Yeah. And that's about where we've got what we've got for you here. Maggie, anything else that you want to bring up before we wrap up here?
I have talked so much. I have nothing else to say. I just love Big Brother. This season is so fun. I'm having an amazing time. Thank you for having me. And yeah, this has been great.
All right. Well, we will have our Stockwatch roundtable tonight, so make sure you tune in for that. We're going to be rating the players. It should be a good time. There's lots to talk about. We'll talk about the week as a whole. It's a good time to catch up if you weren't able to keep up with all of the updates. We give like a good recap of what went down, talk about the highlights, and then rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they're doing in the game, which of course affects the realitystockwatch.com market if you're playing along at home. So tune in tonight. You can vote for the players that you like the best, that you think are doing the best in the game on the survey that I'll be tweeting out after this podcast ends. So check that out. Again, head over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. Going live, talking all kinds of feeds, reacting to stuff. Again, I was live for like 4 hours yesterday, talking through all of this nonsense as it was happening. We had a good time over there. And you can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran, tweeting some stuff out about the stuff that's being talked about. And I'm now taking extra glee in calling it Twitter because apparently that makes Big Boy mad. So find me over there. And then Maggie, what do you got going on?
Yeah. So this week is the end of the Temptation Island season. So Kirsten and I will be doing our season finale and reunion coverage on the Hot Dummies on Islands feed. So go check us out there. You can find me on Threads. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at MLMorgan_. I am not on Twitter, so don't look for me there. But yeah, I am loving this season. If you didn't watch the slop last night, absolutely 1000%, you have to go watch. Jenny was on, Rob was there with her, and it was absolutely hysterical. If you're not a patron, great time to join. Become a patron of RHAP has a podcast so you get that content. I was actively laughing out loud. Jenny made a joke that was so like 7 levels deep meta. Like the amount of context that you would have to understand what she was saying was so deep that I did understand it. And I laughed for I had to pause the show and I laughed so hard. So please go check that out if you haven't. So good. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
That's one of the things about Big Brother sometimes. Just how if anybody I meet, if they look at my Twitter and they see a tweet one of my bigger tweets from yesterday was Corey to Jared. I'm always so scared when you start a sentence with 4 females. Hashtag BB25. Like,
what? Yeah.
Why does that have 6,600 likes? Like, what is happening with your lifetime? And then they go on Twitch and they're watching me in silence and then occasionally being like, oh my God. Like, what do you do? This is weird.
You know, it's a lifestyle. It really is.
Yeah.
It's just a lifestyle. I mean, I really was like, oh my, somebody tweeted yesterday, and this is how I have felt since Felicia showed up on our screen. I said, if she has Sheriff Kathy upside, that's all I care about. And she's nearing Rennie status. Okay. When she pulled Jagan in his chicken suit, it was giving it's inappropriate. So like, that's where I'm at. Everybody knows what we mean when we say that. And thank you, everybody, for giving me endless entertainment with all of your tweets and your thoughts and your comments. I just love Big Brother. It was a long off season. It was really long.
It was. All right, well, that's what we have for you. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Maybe someday I'll get to play Baldur's Gate and the updates won't be 2 hours long. But until then,
Sorry.
not your fault. But we'll see you next time.